Good morning, everyone. Just gonna wait for you guys to tune in. How is everyone doing? Happy Valentine's Day. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Happy Valentine's Day. Wishing you guys all the love today. And love every day, not just in Valentine's Day. Alan Sultan, I can't find your wife. I'm not a dating agency. I'm a law firm, but funny. Good morning, Rory on Instagram. Good morning, Navisha. Um, I see someone said I have a question. Go ahead and ask your question. Hi, Nadine. Happy Valentine's Day, my sorority sister. Um, okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney. And I represent clients all over the United States with their humanitarian-based, family-based immigration matter. If you see me going left and right, I have different screens, so I'm trying to give everybody attention. So your location is not a problem, even though we have a location in Florida and in Georgia. We represent clients in all 50 states. So regardless of what state you're in, we're able to represent you if your immigration case is related to those. Keno says what number to book a consultation is 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp message to 404-333-8751 so someone can call you back. If you didn't catch the number, it's in right in my profile. It's scrolling through the ticker on Facebook and YouTube, so you should be able to save it once the live is concluded. Okay, guys. So today I just really want to talk about Happy Valentine's Day, Prince Jay and Lucky on Facebook. Today I just want to talk about like strategies of just getting your green card approved, your marriage-based green card. So first of all, Mr. Sultan, we're not a dating agency. We don't help people find spouses. You have to go look for a spouse for yourself, and fall in love and marry somebody for the right reason, first and foremost. So I hope you were joking with that and you're just trolling, because you should not be doing that. So I really want to talk about, increasing your chances of one, approval, and two, increasing your chances of getting your green card interview bypassed. Before I get into it, I want to say that even if you're scheduled for a green card interview, it is not a big deal. It doesn't mean that they're not going to approve you. Sometimes, like right now with basically USCIS's policy, they're approving cases where there's no immigration history, no criminal history. Basically, there's nothing, squeaky clean, slam dunk. You can see that, there's a legit marriage on there, but it doesn't mean that if they call you for an interview, that's going to be a problem. So the first thing I recommend is one, obviously, you should be in a legitimate marriage. Two, you have to provide proof of the legitimacy of your marriage. Now, depending on how long you've been married, you're going to have, some people are going to have less stuff and some people are going to have more stuff. But you want to continuously build things organically. So, for example, if let's say you guys just got married, some things that are easy to show that your marriage is legitimate, even if you don't have a social security number where you can join things financially, are things like bills. Add your spouse on your utility bills. No, your utility bills, your like your cell phone bills, your utility bills. If you can do a joint ownership, because some utilities will allow both spouses to be on the utility, even though it's one person's social security that they're running. There's certain banks like Bank of America that will allow you to open a bank account, a joint bank account, without you having a social security number. And then if you do open a bank account, it's really, really important that you don't have a dormant bank account. What I mean by that is you can't just open a bank account and leave it there for decoration. Here and there you put $100, $200 or whatever. You need to use your bank account. You need to spend money on your bank account. USCIS needs to know that's an active account so that you're using it either for bills, regular stuff or whatever. And, when you're submitting bank accounts, you definitely want to submit more than 1 month, unless you just got married and you just opened the bank account. But the more bank accounts you show that have a consistent spending, the better for you. And then I just want to talk about, people who live in different states, some like bloopers, or should I say errors in thought that we see a lot, where some people will say, oh yeah, we'll live in the same state, and then they will give us their bank accounts to look at, and we'll look at their bank accounts, and one person is spending money in Utah, and then the other person is in Massachusetts. So it's you got to think that USCIS, they're not stupid. There's nothing they've not seen, and they study people's evidence to make sure that it makes logical sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you have a bank account that you're swiping your card, and you have a bank statement that's showing half of the transaction in Utah and the other half in Massachusetts, that is something that's going to raise a red flag to USCIS, where it's going to be like, well, I thought you guys lived in Massachusetts. What is all this expense happening in Utah? So it is, honesty is the best policy. A lot of things that people lie about, are really ridiculous, and things that you will not get denied for, but for some reason they think that lying about it will get them approved. Like I've said a lot of times on here, living in two different states is not a deal breaker. Yes, it could be a red flag, but you can explain it if it makes sense. Some do not make sense. If your spouse works for Walmart and you work for, I don't know, let's say the U.S. citizen spouse works for Walmart or something like that, and maybe you work for like Publix. I'm just picking two random locations. It's not logical to USCIS if you say, well, I didn't move because I didn't want to leave my job, because there's Walmart everywhere. You can find another Walmart, or you can find another grocery store, right? But however, if you have a situation where somebody came here on a work visa, like an H-2B, like to work and stuff like that, and let's say they are in Utah. Let's use the same Utah, Massachusetts example. They're in Utah, and then the other person is in Massachusetts. But because they don't want to violate their immigration status, they don't want to move to Massachusetts because the H-2B is tied to Utah. But the plan is that eventually, once they have a solid green card, then they're able to move, right? Whereas for the person in Massachusetts, it also makes sense that they wouldn't want to move to Utah because it's a temporary position where you up and move your life. If you have a house, a job, you up and move it for a few months. That would not make sense. So in that case, it is logical why you and your spouse would not live in the same location. And the key thing is, instead of lying, tell the truth and explain that, because it is a logical reason why, both of you will be temporarily in different places. So that's just, using that as an example. Some other things are like, if your spouse has children, are you listed as an emergency contact? Does your spouse have life insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability, who's the beneficiary? A lot of jobs, even if you don't have health insurance, hold on one second, let me turn off my heater. It's getting so hot here. So like a lot of jobs have, where, even if you don't get health insurance, they may give you short-term insurance, long-term insurance, or even free life insurance. This is the ones you get without you having to pay for it, and you usually can list a beneficiary. Is your spouse listed as a beneficiary? That's another way, to include, to show bona fides of your relationship. Another way is, of course, pictures. People, when I say, oh, do you have any kind of pictures? And everybody has a different philosophy on this, and every attorney does their own stuff differently. But I'm only going to speak for myself, my clients, and what my own experience is. When you send pictures, so first of all, I believe in sending pictures. However, with a lot of caveats. So you giving me pictures of you guys at the courthouse where you didn't even bother to dress up for your wedding. One person is wearing like a face cap, the other person is like slacks or whatever it is. That is not adding value to your case. So those pictures really are not going to add value to your case. However, if you had a wedding, meaning a full-on celebration with guests, you had people show up, you had a reception, wedding gown, floral, professional photographer, certainly send those. I also don't believe in sending only wedding pictures. If wedding pictures are all that you have, then it's not the best. I understand that there's some people that don't like taking pictures, but it is important to take pictures. And specifically, I am speaking to those of you who are US citizens who are married to green card holders. You have to understand that as a spouse, since today is Valentine's Day, let's talk about that, right? When you marry somebody because you love the person, you want the person to be good, right? Because it fulfills your family, right? And it enriches your family. If your spouse is someone who wants the ability to work, wants the ability to be legal, who wants to be able to stay in the United States so that you guys are not separated, you will do what you need to do to make sure that you and your spouse are good. So if that means taking pictures, take pictures. Taking pictures where it's just you and your spouse alone don't really add weight unless it's of significant value. So for instance, like, let's say you guys go to Disney, you go to Universal Studios and, you travel out of the country, you travel to Arizona, you go climbing on a rock in Sedona, Arizona. Those are significant pictures. I'm trying to make sure you guys understand the difference between pictures and pictures, because when you hear attorneys say they don't send pictures, this is the reason why, because the types of pictures they're getting are not pictures that are helpful. But when you have pictures that are helpful, it helps your case. Because listen, going to Disney, you and your family alone, that's probably like $1,000 by the time you pay your admission or whatever. They want to see an investment and skin in the game. If you're going to that, then yeah, those show that you're doing your life together. If you guys are traveling together, remember guys, it's not only by airfare that you can travel. You can travel by road. You can go to Six Flags. I'm not telling you to go there and go take pictures. I'm just saying if those things happen, those are great pictures to send. And then of course, the most powerful one are pictures that include other people, because you're showing the world that you're not hiding your spouse. Someone says, well, my pictures are not good at all. It's normal home pictures. Okay, and then that's fine. If you don't have, good pictures, then get other evidence. Remember, everything I talk about is not one and all done. It's just a combination of things. Similarly, people always say, oh, I don't want to be on social media. I'm private. Understandable. I understand that. But if you are okay with being on social media and you share your spouse on Snapchat, on stories, the stories that disappear in 24 hours, you post about your spouse, you check in with your spouse, like screenshot those, especially when it has comments, because again, it shows that you're putting yourself out there to the world, that you're a legitimate marriage, I know that conventional wisdom with immigration is not normal, because on a normal basis, people can have different kinds of relationships and do whatever they want. But when it comes to immigration, you want to make sure that, you got to remember that they don't know you personally. So they don't know that your marriage is a legitimate marriage. You have the burden of proof to prove that your marriage is a real marriage. So this is not the time to say, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But it's you submitting these things to show them that's real. And then similarly, if you have friends, family that have hung out with you guys, that know about your relationship, let them write an affidavit. You don't want to write cookie cutter affidavits or affidavits where everybody's statement is the same. And if they're going to write an affidavit, it's important that one, they write how they know you, if they've interacted with your spouse, what you guys have done together, what they've, observed, what they think is going to happen, and also identify themselves, just to give credibility to it. So, granted, if you write on a penalty of perjury, you don't need to notarize, but if they can notarize, it's definitely much preferred because it adds validity. Bublet says immigration will literally make you do things you don't normally do, because a lot of people really don't take a lot of pictures, and that's normal. Bublets, absolutely, and I say this all the time to my clients. I know that this is not something that you normally will do or care about. But how else can you prove to somebody that doesn't know you personally that your marriage is real? You know, remember, all they have is a packet, just like a packet of papers, and just that you have to be able to show them that in this packet of papers and evidence, there should be enough that is compelling, and now that we have an administration that is allowing marriage-based green cards be bypassed for an interview, it's really important that you hit the ground running and give a strong application right away. So those affidavits help. And then same things. You can't say that you're living in the same city and you have a spouse that his car is registered in another state and your own car is registered in another state. Sometimes immigration decides who they're going to do their background check on, run the car, run the vehicle, run the lease, contact the leasing office. So like, you just never know where you'll fall, on the pendulum. So it's really important that, you try to do those things, and those things will increase you. And then, of course, when you are submitting a marriage-based case now, you definitely want to send your medical. Keep in mind that, when you do send your medical, in order for you to get signed for your medical, you have to have your COVID vaccination. So, if you want to get approved, just do your COVID vaccine. Yes, you can try and do a waiver, but it comes with a lot of hoops. And, if, the burden is too great, just get your COVID vaccine and submit your medical, and then you should be good to go. And those are the things that would help increase. The other thing, actually, which I forgot to mention, is about sponsorship. If you have your spouse, obviously filing for you, or your parent or whatever, you want to make sure that they meet the income requirements. It's 125%. Past the poverty guideline, depending on their family size and how many people they cover in taxes. If they don't meet that, then you want to find a joint sponsor who is a U.S. citizen or a 10-year green card holder who meets the requirement. When you submit taxes, it is important that the taxes that hold the most weight are your IRS tax transcripts, much more than just a tax return. The reason why is because a tax return cannot be verified, or is not independently verifiable, unless it has a PIN number that has been issued by the IRS, because a lot of times they can verify it. So make your life easy and just get a tax return. It's free and it's quick. So I think, this is a very long topic, but, I'm just trying to do like a quick summary of it. I want to take some questions now. And stuff like that. Okay. So Prince J says it's been 5 months plus since my VAWA was approved, but I've not received any follow-up information on the green card. What's next? So you just have to wait. If you file for adjustment of status, your green card is definitely, you're definitely going to be either scheduled for a green card interview, or they will send you an RFE if they need your medical, or they need you to do another medical. I would say that most people, we hear around 6 month-ish time. So give it another month and see what happens. Jamaican Empress says, what if your spouse is not vaccinated? Well, I guess the question is, who's a U.S. citizen? They don't really care about U.S. citizens, in terms of they can do whatever they want. When I'm talking about vaccination, I'm talking about the immigrant who's applying for a green card. The only times that a citizen's issue becomes an issue is, one, their income. Do they meet the income requirements to file? And two, do they have any child abuse arrest or criminal record or child molestation, anything that basically falls under the Adam Walsh Act? If you have anything like that, then that becomes an issue. Nane said, I tried several banks. They don't want to do a joint without SSN. Try Bank of America. I'm sure Sharifa says, can you file taxes with your fiance? So I don't give tax advice, but I don't believe that you can. But you can contact your tax advisor to confirm, because, you can either file married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, or single. So there's no category there for a fiance and fiance to or fiance to file. So I don't believe that you can. However, The other things that you can do, I don't know if you guys are living together already or you're traveling together and visiting family or spending holidays together. Those are all some things that you can gather as evidence. And personally, I think that, when officers are reviewing the length of time someone has been married, there definitely is not going to be the same standard as someone who's been married for 3 years versus someone who's been married for a few months. You're not. It's just logical. You're not going to have as much as the other person. But your application is a continuous process, meaning you always want to continue to gather evidence. Just so that if they request additional evidence from what you originally submitted, then you can have more stuff to send over. You guys, I know there's a lot of questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. I'm just going to, someone says, I'd like to talk to you personally. If you want to schedule a consult with me, call 407-995-6567 and schedule a consultation. Let's see. Trust no one for one says, I really need a one-on-one with this legendary attorney. Same thing, same advice, call and schedule. If your spouse is on disability or retired, can they still file for you? Technically, we just have to see what their income is. Are the fees being increased? Yes, USCIS filing fees are in fact going up. Now, here are all the caveats as it relates to that. So the fees are right now, they're in what we call a period of public response, where they've issued this suggested increases, and the public has some time to comment on it. I believe till March 4th. Don't quote me on the exact date, but I want to say it's March 4th because it's 60 days from when they announced it. So after that time, if they pass this rule, then they will let us know when this new fees will start. If they don't pass it, then it will remain the same. I mean, right now it's a significant increase. So we're of course hoping they don't pass it. This is also an opportunity for you guys to go comment before March 4th saying that this is cost prohibitive so that the fees can stay the same. If they don't get a lot of public comments, it's definitely going to pass. And then they'll let us know after March 4th when it's final. Alanzi Sultan says, I was joking with you. Yeah, I was hoping that you were definitely joking. MZ Geesh says, please, I filed for VAWA in August of 2021. I received my EAD, but haven't heard from them. Is this normal? It's been 17 months. 17 months is not a long time in terms of VAWA. Most VAWA cases take anywhere from 24 months to 30 months for them to make a decision. So you're still within normal time. And a lot of times after you receive your EAD, you're not really going to hear anything else unless they need something from you until they make a decision. So I'm knock on wood that this is no news being good news in your case. Let me see what else. I'm just looking for. This person says, how long does it take for a green card holder to petition for kids outside of the country? Honestly, depends on how old your children are. Are they under 21? Are they over 21? The timeline is different from the two. It also depends on what country you're from. It could take anywhere from 12 months to like 10 years. It just depends on the children, their age, what country, what is the backlog in the country. So without knowing your own particular circumstances, it's difficult to give you a timeline. And this person, I'd like to ask you just one question. Can I send you a DM? No, I don't answer legal questions in DMs. Schedule a consult if you want me to give you legal advice. I've been living in this country since I was 5 years old. Now I'm 28 years old. Can I just file for U.S. passport, or do I need to file for naturalization? Well, gold forever. The first question is, are you a U.S. citizen? Because that, depending on the answer to that, I wouldn't be able to answer the question. My driver is a truck driver and swipe debit or credit cards in different states. I'm assuming you're saying your spouse. Okay, but you see what I said? Different states, not Massachusetts versus Utah, which was the example that I used. So if they can show that, in their W-2 that they submit sponsoring you, showing that they're truck drivers, and so they move from state to state, and their statement shows different states, Yes, that is logical. I am talking about people who are stationary in one state and all transactions are coming from that state, and your spouse's transaction is coming from a completely different state. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Do you talk about relative filing like a daughter? I do. I mean, what question do you have? Same. With relatives, you just have to prove that that person is your child, and you're a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. Um, how important are happy pictures on VAWA cases? I mean, I'm neither here nor there. If you have, then you can submit. If you don't have, you don't have to submit. I think the biggest thing is just proving your marriage was real and proving that your spouse was abusive. So if you want to send if you want to send happy pictures to show bona fides, that's proof that there was one time your marriage was good. Certainly, you can send it. There's no bar in sending it. Um, so someone says, what if you don't have a social security? So everything you use is on your spouse's name. I mean, I don't know at what point you tune into the live, but if you go back and listen to this when I disconnect, you will hear some of the things that I said you can easily do that don't require having a social security number. Um, I am into a marriage, 6 months. It's not working out. I've already filed and I'm waiting on my EAD. It's a good idea to transfer it to VAWA. Should I wait for EAD and AP before doing it? Andrew Lopez, I would need to consult with you to make sure that you're actually eligible for VAWA, because you don't just transfer to VAWA. We have to make sure that you meet the requirement. So I encourage you to schedule a call, 407 and then we can see if you're eligible, and just understand, when you file what you have, and then strategically, tell you what would be in your best interest. Um, Stella says, can a green card holder file for their spouse? A 10-year green card holder can. Yeah, if you're a 10-year green card holder, you can file for your spouse. Um, Hello, it's almost 24 months since I filed for VAWA. I got 3 prima facies and did biometrics. What's next, please, for the approval? Alicia, no, it's Alika. I just mentioned that, so I hope you were listening to it. As far as timeline, so you're still within normal timeline, and hopefully you should get an approval soon. Someone says, do you process ITINs? No, I am not a tax preparer. I don't issue tax IDs. If you are trying to get a tax ID, you should go to the IRS and look for third-party designees who do that. I am a law firm and I deal with immigration, not taxes. Mm. Lopez, same question about VAWA. Is filing your taxes with your wife a good proof of marriage? Absolutely. Filing married, filing jointly is definitely a good proof, especially because you're entangling your finances. And if you guys know how tax works, is that if you are responsible for money, so is your spouse. So if you have a spouse that's willing to put themselves out there and be responsible for whatever debt you owe, as well as it's a pretty good sign that your marriage is legit. One of the good signs, not the only. Um, So my husband is in the Navy and currently on deployment, and we temporarily live in different states. Is that a big problem? I would need to screen you a little bit more to understand. If you said to me that your spouse is in the Navy and they're out of the country right now, that would make a lot of sense, because you obviously are out of status, and if you leave the country, you might not be able to come back if you've already overstayed your time. With living in a new state, I would need to understand the movement. Is he stationary for a year? Does he have spousal accommodation like a lot of people in the military? If are you able to live there with him? So we need a little bit more to understand, for me to say. Okay. Okay, answer this one. Would you advise filing for citizenship while the I-751 is still processing? I've had my conditional since 2018 November, and I was wondering if filing N400 will trigger an expedition. Um, well, the answer is it depends. It depends on you, and it depends on your immigration history and the likelihood of approval of a conditional removal. Without screening you, I can't tell you for your personal situation. So generally, in order for me to tell somebody, go ahead and file an N400, I have to first understand that they will be eligible to get that N400 and the removal to do the same. If not, it's pointless. And honestly, N400s these days, even if you file it with a conditional, green card, you still are still looking at anywhere from like 7 to 12 months still. Okay, guys, I have run out of time, but I enjoyed chatting with you guys. I'll be back later. If I didn't get to your questions, schedule a call. Let's consult and see what other options are available for you guys. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day. Talk to you guys later.